Hi YouTube. So, going to the first of our talks and the presentations from the delegates. I'm going in reverse order as from the program. We actually kicked off with P.Z. Myers and finished it with Rebecca Watson, but I'm going to, well, reverse the order anyway and show Rebecca's talk first. It's in 3 parts. Her talk was one of the shorter of the presentations, and this includes the Q&A. What I would say to you, everybody, on this is that anyone who knows my channel, and regardless, is that I, in the past, and one of the videos still stands on my channel, have been, shall we say, less than generous to Rebecca Watson in the past. Now, in terms of that, doing the right thing, as they say, is that I'm giving her a full presentation of this, as anyone else of the other delegates deserve. I was quite shocked actually during her talk, and anyway, meeting her in Cologne, of the idea that people wanted her blacklisted or not to be invited to the conference, and that I cannot tolerate. You may love her, you may hate her, but that is insupportable, and that's why I'm posting this. Excuse the quality, was shot in handheld, but yeah, I mean, I really can't I can't tolerate that, everybody. It's just, you know, it's a black. She's had an awful lot. And when I made the first video about this last year, it was because of that thing that boiled up between P.Z. Myers on one side and Richard Dawkins on the other. And I wasn't jumping on any bandwagon. I simply kind of, it was so fresh at the time, and I was one of the first to make a video on that. It was to kind of give some illumination or perspective on it. But that was then, this is now. She gave a very, very good talk. If you ever see this, Rebecca, as I said to your face, well done. It was an excellent talk. And that's it. Now, in regards to the feedback on this, everybody. Okay, it's not a popularity contest. And don't beat me up over this, but I'm suspending ratings, okay? You don't get a vote on this. You can post comments. You can post a video response. You can make a fucking video yourself if you like. But no, you don't get to do this and this, because I don't know what that means in this case. If it's all red or all green, is it for her, for me? Well, it doesn't matter. Do you understand in this thing? So don't accuse me of censoring this. It's my channel, okay? Not yours, mine. So I think that's fair enough, everyone. This lady has had enough abuse. Really. And that's it. As I said, I made a couple of videos about her, and the second one was less than generous, and I'm man enough to give her a shot on my channel to balance things out. I think any fair-minded person would go along with that. In either case, I don't give a damn whether you think it's fair or not. Again, it's my channel. So anyway, it is a good talk, it's worth watching, and do enjoy it. Bye-bye.
Skeptische Aktivistin und Bloggerin. Our next speaker is Rebecca Watson, skeptical blogger and activist. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello. I'd like to start by apologizing. I brought up some tissues here. I'm very ill. It started when I visited your cathedral. There's a chance that I caught the God virus. So just don't get too close to me, please. Also, I noticed that there are some young children here, and I just want to mention that I occasionally curse, and so you might just want to be aware of that. And although really, if they already know the words, it's too late. So, so I'm going to start with a quotation. I think it's important that we understand that what we want to do here is win the war, not just win the battle. And there will be an opportunity sometime in order to win the big war, and we're looking for that opportunity. That's a direct quote from a speech delivered by John Boehner, the Speaker of the House of Representatives in the United States. And the war he was talking about is a war on women, language that Boehner and his cronies are now rushing to pretend that they never used, even though they did. He was speaking specifically about the Republican plan to defund Planned Parenthood, which is an organization that provides basic health services to women. Things like cancer screenings and checkups. And it's mostly for low-income women, although other women and men are also welcome to use their services. Approximately 3% of their services are abortion services. No federal funds in the US go towards any abortion services, including at Planned Parenthood. However, the Republicans tried to convey this idea that they were going to defund Planned Parenthood so that federal funds would no longer go towards abortion. Despite this, about 65% of Americans wanted the US to continue funding those important services, yet the Conservative Party actually nearly shut down the entire US government over the issue. So you have to wonder, why would a political party go against the majority of voters to push for an action that could only be even justified using misinformation, and which would directly damage the health and well-being of a significant portion of women? 3 words: the religious right. Now, the religious right is not just composed of your average Christians. It's actually a specific overlap between conservative Republicans and evangelical and fundamentalist Christians who believe that their religion should be involved in US politics. I was speaking to some people last night, and I found out that in German, there's a word for that. Let me see if I get this right. Arschlöcher. I take it I got that right then. Good. I warned you. Now, the religious right is a very powerful group of politicians, lobbyists, and organizations that are attempting to tear down the wall that separates church and state in the United States so that they might basically set up a theocracy. Groups like Focus on the Family, run by evangelical Christian leader James Dobson, who once attacked the Girl Scouts, you know, the girls that dress in sashes and badges that they get for learning to sew and things like that. He called the Girl Scouts a front for humanism and radical feminism. Focus on the Family has a budget annually of $130 million. Then there's Concerned Women for America, which has a budget of $8 million per year. In the 1980s, they were famous for campaigning against public schools for allegedly promoting secular humanism. 3 of the 5 highest paid positions in Concerned Women for America are held by men. Don't worry, they may not be women, but they are very concerned. Now, these groups do not represent the majority of Americans' views, but they are very powerful, and they are committed to introducing biblical doctrine into the United States government. And for the most part, they're focusing specifically on the biblical doctrine that mandates that women's bodies are not their own. That women's bodies must be controlled by men, lest they should enjoy sex without being punished by babies or disease. To the woman he said, "I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. In pain you shall bring forth children, yet your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you." There it all is, right there in the very first damn book of their Bible. And so they focus on controlling women's bodies in any way that they can. For instance, one thing they're doing is attempting to mandate abstinence-only education. Despite the fact that studies show that states that teach abstinence-only education have the highest rates of sexually transmitted diseases and teen pregnancies in the US. They want to prevent access to any contraception, particularly the birth control pill, or what we call the morning after pill, which is also known as Plan B in the US. They call these chemical abortions, which is not true in any sense. This is despite the fact that access to contraception is shown to decrease maternal mortality rates, decrease unsafe abortions, decrease sexually transmitted diseases, and improve education for girls who would otherwise get pregnant and drop out of school. The religious right also opposes legal abortion, of course, often even in the cases of rape, in cases in which it would save the life of the mother, in cases of severe, debilitating fetal abnormalities, and in the vast majority of cases in which the abortion is performed on an embryo less than an inch long. Because what this really is about is not saving babies, it's about controlling women's bodies. This is, they oppose abortion despite research, for instance, from the World Health Organization, that shows that when you restrict women's access to legal abortion, the total number of abortions actually stays the same. What increases is the number of maternal deaths. Women continue having abortions, they just go for illegal abortions that end up killing them. Now, these people call themselves pro-life, but that's not a pro-life stance. That's pro-death. Now, this pro-death standpoint can also be seen in their opposition to the HPV vaccine, which is a vaccine that is safe and effective and which would drastically reduce the number of women who die each year of cervical cancer. Religious conservatives like Michelle Bachmann, who was actually in the running to become the next president of the United States, she actually publicly gave credence to the idea that the HPV vaccine causes retardation. It does not. Excuse me. The religious right also insists that the vaccine will cause girls to become more sexually active, in the same way that wearing seatbelts causes them to crash their cars into buildings. They're very clear about this. They oppose the HPV vaccine because women should be frightened of having sex. If they make the great mistake of having sex, God has decreed that they must be punished. We see cervical cancer, and they see the almighty hand of God. That can only be described as pro-death. And of course, I haven't even gotten to the vast majority of abortion activists or anti-abortion activists who failed to speak up about the murders of abortion doctors, like George Tiller several years ago, who was killed in Kansas, leaving only one other abortion provider in the entire state of Kansas. For the most part, though, Christian theocracy is not spread through direct violence, but through clever legislation. Last year, U.S. state legislatures introduced nearly 1,000 measures restricting women's reproductive rights. Of those, 69 eventually became law. And I'm going to give you a very brief overview of just a few of the laws that have actually been enacted. In Tennessee, sexual education teachers are now banned from discussing kissing and hand-holding because these activities are seen as gateway sexual activity. In exactly the same way that we ban marijuana for being a gateway drug. Kissing and hand-holding. They're basically outlawing love. That's what they're doing. So that's very depressing. And lest you think that this is only a US problem, you should know that abstinence-only education has made its way over here thanks to US fundamentalists who are pushing the issue here. Just last year, British MP Nadine Dorries introduced a bill that would require abstinence-only education be taught in the UK, but only to girls. In Georgia, where anti-abortion activists have now started fires at 2 abortion clinics this week alone, abortion is now banned at 20 weeks, which is actually unconstitutional in the United States, but that doesn't stop them from trying to pass the laws. This is called the fetal pain law because the religious right claims that fetuses can feel pain at 20 weeks. There is no scientific consensus that would reasonably allow someone to make a statement like that. Regardless, 5 different states have now enacted fetal pain laws, with more on the way. In Kansas and several other states, pharmacists can now deny women access to birth control if the pharmacist feels that it will go against their religion. This means that in rural areas, a woman may have no other option for obtaining birth control that could be used, for instance, to help regulate her hormones, or, God forbid, God literally forbid, to not get pregnant while having sex. These laws could even protect pharmacists who refuse to give pregnant women cancer-treating drugs that would carry a risk of causing a miscarriage. Again, pro-death. And again, lest you think that this is a problem that is restricted to the United States. In 2010, the EU enacted a similar proposal thanks to lobbyists from the European Center for Law and Justice, which is related to the American Center for Law and Justice, which is a $12 million religious right organization run by the television evangelist Pat Robertson, who you might recall, I'm not sure if the news made it over here every time he says something idiotic. He once said that the earthquake in Haiti was caused by Satan worshippers, and that the 9/11 attacks were caused by feminists and gays. Oddly, he was suspiciously silent on the devastating tornadoes that ripped through the Bible Belt recently. Who knows what caused those?